Hello, and welcome to another Podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. This is not a podcast. This is a video where I talk about podcasting. Today's topic, if you're watching the video, is podcasting's growth. Bigger audience or just more playgrounds? Now let me explain what I'm saying here. Every month, our friends at Libsyn, Liberated Syndication, the largest, as I think, the largest hosting provider for independent content, although none of those numbers are being thrown into question, but we're not here to talk about that today. Nonetheless, been around since the beginning, really great people. I use Libsyn for my content as well as most of the other clients that I support on a going basis. Most of them are on Libsyn too. It's just a great service. There are lots of other great services too. I just happen to like them. It's great. Libsyn, the Vice President of Podcaster Relations, Mr. Rob Walsh, every month provides a series of numbers to help other podcasters benchmark their success. And I wish other podcast hosts would do this as well, because I really like the format that they put together. So I'm going to share those with you. By the way, you're probably going to want to link to this stuff. Well, it's all in audio. Rob has requested, and I must honor this request, that we not write down and publish these stats. I'm sure somebody has done it. So I've written them down on a piece of paper so I can talk about them. But you're not going to find a blog post that shows the details of these numbers. So pay attention. Subscribe to the feed. Terrible name. The podcast by Libsyn if you want to see these every month when they send them out. They just brought them out over the weekend, so I want to talk. As I was saying, I like the breakdown. Instead of saying this is the size, they break it down into bands. They show you what's going on at different levels. So, like, for example, we know what the top 1% is. And this is curating all of Libsyn's data. It's a very simple model. They just, how many episodes were published in a given time frame? How many downloads did those episodes published in that given time frame get? Divide. Very simple. Simple math. And when they do that, they break them down into levels. And we know, for example, that the top 1%, so all of the shows on Libsyn that are responsible for 1% of all of the downloads, however many shows that is. We know that in just the most recent, like from the June-July timeframe to the July to August timeframe, because what they do, a little bit technical, more than I want to do, I'm going to do it anyhow in case you're curious. For example, they will take all of the episodes that were downloaded in June and count the episodes all the way through July. So all episodes for any show published in June, so maybe that's 4 episodes. And then they count downloads from June 1 all the way to July 31. So they do a 2-month download window of shows downloaded in 1 month. Does that make sense? Right or wrong, it's the number that we have. I like it. I think it makes a lot of sense. So we know, for example, that the top 1% grew from 32,000 downloads on average for those time frames prior month to this month. Now it's to 35,000. So 32,000 to 35,000. That's big growth. Woohoo! We see the same thing at one layer down, the 2%. So the top 2%, those shows that are responsible for 2% of all the downloads. Think about it that way, right? The high echelon here, they move from 19,000 the prior reporting period to 20,000 on average. You can figure there's a lot of shows that do that one. So that's definite growth. And even at the 5% mark, went up a little bit more, went up by around 200, 8.1 thousand to 8.3 thousand. So great, podcast is growing, right? Well, not so fast. When we look at everything, when we look at the total number of downloads happening across everything and just do a simple average, which means the big guys at the top, as well as the people who published an episode in June and never ever promoted it or put it on even Apple Podcasts, so they got 0 downloads. But all those count. We know the problem of averages. That number hasn't changed in 3 months. That number hasn't changed in 3 months. It was 142 was the average number of the June-July timeframe, and then also 142 for the July to August timeframe. Prior to that, it was 145. And you know what? It's been 140 to 150 since as long as I can remember listening to this. So what does that mean? I'm not a mathematician. You don't have to be a mathematician to understand this, but here's my interpretation of the way that means. We're getting a lot of brand new podcasters every day that are flooding to places like Libsyn to create their content and put their shows up there. And like most podcasts, they don't get very many listens, especially when they're brand new. So that number takes into account all the brand new people that showed up, put up episodes, and had 1, 2, 10, 20, if that, downloads of those episodes, which will naturally bring every number down. Because not many people are coming at the top and putting in a show that gets 1 million downloads a month. That doesn't happen. New ones aren't added there. Literally thousands are added at the bottom, but 1, maybe 2 are added at the top, a handful at the top, right? So there's just the numbers are going to be different. So, but we're seeing growth at that top number. We're not seeing growth at the average and then below that. So here's my interpretation with that. It's exactly that. If your show is one of the upper echelon tiers, excuse me, let me change the way I say that. Shows at the upper echelon, those which get attention, those which get downloads, are seeing the bulk of the growth. But that growth isn't necessarily rolling all the way through, especially not for the brand new ones. So just because we see podcast growth at the top does not mean that it's easy to get an audience to grow. It's every bit as hard as it used to be, and it's every bit as unlikely, to be really honest, that a brand new show on its own, without any work, is going to get the growth. So you should be encouraged at the fact that there are more people consuming, more content is being consumed. We can say that with confidence. More content is being consumed. But not surprisingly, if you understand how the power curve works, that consumption is happening at the top, and it's not evenly distributed. And that's the kicker. It is not evenly distributed. Even if we look at the what Rob calls the adjusted mean, where he takes off the top 0.5% of all downloads and gets rid of everything that has 3 or less downloads. Now that number's gone up from 1,480 to 1,532. That's nice. That's a big jump. That's 50-ish. 52. On my math, yeah, 52 more. For an adjusted mean, so that means gets rid of the people that are the super brand new that didn't really do anything. That's good. Still get some of those brand new ones that didn't do much because, it doesn't take much to get 3 people to download an episode. But that's encouraging. That number has gone up, and in fact, and that's good. But again, remember, now we're back at the top. That's 1,500. 1,500. Most podcasts get 142 or less. That's not me. 142. That's an average. If the average is 142, that means most podcast episodes published in the month of July, counted through August, most have 142 or less. If the adjusted mean is up by 500. Again, that's the top echelon. Even the top 5%. Or excuse me, let me change the way I say that. Shows that get more than 5,000 downloads in those time periods, episodes that get more than 5,000 downloads during those time periods, grew from 7.2% to 7.3%. So growth up top, no growth at middle and bottom. Standard power curve. So yes, you should be excited about getting into podcasting. Yes, you should be excited if you're a podcaster that there are more downloads happening at the top, which we can probably interpret to mean more people consuming content. Or if it's not an increase in people, it's definitely an increase in consumption habits. And all that is good. But just understand that just because all those people are listening, it doesn't mean they're going to listen to you, to your content. You need to do things to make your show recognized. Now, but of course it starts with having a new show. It starts with having a show, and if you need help getting your show launched, talk to me. My name is Evo. I launch podcasts. You can contact me, evo@podcastlaunch.pro. You can go to podcastlaunch.pro to get a list of the services I provide to clients. Tomorrow, I'll come back and do another podcast pontifications. Cheers.